Identity politics have gone to the beach this summer. After Burkini bans and seaside resorts, France's highest administrative chamber, the Council of State, hearing arguments against the measures. But human rights advocates are up against public opinion as well. 64% of the French approve of the bans. That's according to a latest survey published in the Figaro. There is, though, a backlash after a third-generation French national from Toulouse was forced to dress down on a Riviera beach. There's the front-page headline in newspaper Libération. Critics compare that to the morals police of Saudi Arabia. Others, though, decry the burkini itself as a provocation, a retrograde call for women to cover up. As for politicians from left to right, they're watching those polls that say no to the burkini ahead of next year's presidential election, an election where the anti-immigrant, anti-Islam National Front is tipped to coast into the second round amid a splintering of mainstream parties. We're going to ask our panel if a string of terror attacks, the latest in the seaside resort of Nice, if they have succeeded in fundamentally altering France's values and perception of such issues. Today in the France 24 debate, France's Burkini ban. With us, journalist Isabelle Kersimon. Thank you for being with us. From Toulouse, Rim-Sarah Alouane, public law researcher at the University of Toulouse. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Florence Villeminot hosts France 24's French Connections show.
Hi, François.
Thanks for coming in. And we're also joined by Paris-based Syrian activist Emma Suleiman.
Hi. Hello. Thank you for inviting me.
Welcome back. The France 24 debate, where you can join the conversation. And you have on Facebook and Twitter our hashtag F24debate. At the outset, it was mayors, mostly on the French Riviera and in Corsica, who started it all.
I want to put an end to this clothing apartheid that goes against the community. This is France. This is the French Republic. Everyone is equal, without any distinction of race or religion.
Given the current climate we're in, everyone needs to make an effort to protect social harmony.
Let me start with you, Florence Villeminot. What happened? How did it suddenly, these mayors, one by one, suddenly start to announce these burkini bans?
Well, it all started in Cannes when the mayor there decided to ban the burkini, citing risks of public insecurity, public disorder, and then that quickly spread to other beachside towns, mainly in the south, but then we saw that Le Touquet, for instance, which is in the north, also decided to ban the burkini. Now, it started off sparking a little bit of a controversy, but it's really picked up over the past couple of weeks. In fact, just this week, it's really turned into this major debate on social media. And it's interesting because people outside of France are also participating in this debate. A lot of people don't understand what in the world is going on in France.
Yeah, here's the interesting bit, and I'm sure this is not going to come as a surprise to you. On the hashtag F24 debate, we had a poll, 71% against the burkini ban. But then that poll we mentioned at the outset in the Figaro, diametrically opposed inside of France. Why are we talking at cross purposes between people who are inside of France and outside?
Well, of course, here in France, the country is still very much shaken by the recent terrorist attacks that we've experienced for over a year now. Of course, the most recent one on July 14th in the south, in Nice. Now, another issue that really has come up time and time again in this burkini debate, and it's something that quite honestly, people outside of France just don't understand, and it's the concept of laïcité, secularism, which is really quite at the heart of this burkini debate. Now, laïcité is translated as secularism, the separation between church and state, but it's really a policy here in France where essentially religion is a private matter and not a public one. For instance, headscarves are banned in French schools. If you work at a public administration, you're not allowed to show signs of religion. And so I think that is why these mayors are thinking that they're protecting laïcité by banning the burkini on these beaches, because in their view, at least, the burkini is a sign of religious extremism. Now, that, of course, is very arguable, but that's why they think that they're defending secularism by banning these burkinis.
The burkini as a sign of religious extremism. And by the way, just to again illustrate this dichotomy between the Burkini Ban seen from here and abroad in the London district of Kensington earlier. A protest dressed as a beach party outside of the French embassy. It was a rally organized by the group Stand Up for Racism. The anger gathering momentum after pictures emerged of a 34-year-old former air hostess on a beach in Nice. She wasn't in a burkini, but wearing a veil, who was ordered to dress down and given a fine while beachgoers told her to go home. Home for her, by the way, she's third-generation French, is the southwestern city of Toulouse. Rim Sarah Alouane, your reaction to that story?
My reaction is, what have we done with laïcité today, and what have we done with women's rights as well? First, regarding laïcité, that's a problem and of the way we are applying it in France. The separation of church and state, so the law of 1905, and the principle that was inspired by it, the principle of the concept of laïcité, actually does not prevent people from expressing their religious belief in the public space. It actually, laïcité means that the state must remain neutral regarding religious matter. So civil servants, for example, have to be neutral, but not the users and certainly not the people. Actually, it's all the contrary. This kind of ban violates laïcité in its core, Yesterday I crossed the path of a nun fully dressed in her nun attire. She was riding her bike. I loved her for that. She felt so confident to be able to do it and without fearing having cops behind her back, And that's what laïcité should be, wherever you are religious or not, to be able to express your faith without feeling, without harming people, of course, and without fearing to be attacked. So for me, that's one point. And regarding women's rights, I was baffled by the whole issue. Women wearing burkini were not invited to the table to discuss it. And literally, we are telling women how they should dress or not. We are not asking them their opinion. We are deliberately dictating them that the way they dress do not fit whatever societal values or whatsoever. So women's rights and laïcité, this is quite problematic here.
Emma Suleiman, you agree?
Well, what your guest is mentioning is more of a tolerance system than laïcité. What shocks me here specifically is that we in the Middle East, since years, we've been fighting and fighting for our minimum rights, against the hijab, against the veil, and against early child marriage and all of that. And things are going worse and worse in the Middle East and now in Europe. This is what really shocks me. I mean, we see on daily basis the pictures of women finally getting liberated from Daesh, from ISIS, and from the radicals and the jihadist area. And at the same time, I come to France, running away from all the Islamists, to see women here calling for women's oppression. For me, hijab and the veil, here, the burkini case in particular, is not a simple swimsuit. It's much more than that. This debate keeps coming back because of, in France in particular, because of the laïcité, because of the secular system that actually oppresses all religion, not specifically Muslim. But let's say that Islam is not compatible with laïcité because Muslims believe that, are programmed to believe that hijab has to be is part of the duties. Well, nothing in Quran implies that hijab is a duty on women. What Quran says, Quran calls for modesty for both men and women, not to cover your head, not to cover your full body. So that's not in Quran. This is really an invention that started in the early 80s, and this is when we started seeing more and more veiled women, and it's growing, and that's why we've been fighting. And I think many women today in the Middle East agree with me because they go through this on daily basis. We don't have any choice. We don't have any freedom. And even here in France, I actually work with women who don't have the choice. True that the government, it is actually the government's responsibility to assure that those women have the choice. They don't have the choice. They live in specific community where they are obliged to wear hijab, where they're obliged to respect the society or the community they live in. They don't have the choice. So what we're calling for is a change of laws and law enforcement. That's how you protect women.
Okay, but do you understand those people protesting outside the French embassy in London who are saying
it's a different culture?
Well,
it's a different culture.
Yeah, but they're saying for them it's shocking to see police come on the beach, in some cases wait for women to come out of the water in order to give them summons or tell them to dress down.
I totally agree. These images are humiliating, are totally shocking for anyone. But let's put things in perspective. The lady was a third generation. I believe she fully knew or heard. I mean, she was fully aware. In her case, she wasn't wearing a burkini. But she was aware of the Burkini ban on the Nice, right? So she knew this, and she kind of provoked. I mean, she's the only one in hijab on here, and there is a dress code for everything, and beach should be respected. However, what I blame the government for, when you want to ban burkini on the beach, you should at the same time create a private burkini beaches for the ladies who cannot remove their burkini, but while depriving them from going in burkini to public beaches is a bit of an issue. Yes, I agree on that.
But that's what a lot of people have said, is that what they're afraid of with this burkini ban is it's just opening a Pandora's box, essentially. It's a really slippery slope because, the burkini is banned and not the hijab and not the headscarf. The headscarf, you can legally wear it in public space.
Exactly, which is what the hijab should be banned, in my opinion, because hijab has an ideology behind it. It's not a simple thing you cover your hair with.
Yes, okay, it has absolutely an ideology, which is called integrism, which is political and religion at the same time.
Yes.
To make, and also and always at first women cooperate to that kind of oppression, and it begins in Orient always by the women. And what we can say about burkini, it is that it has absolutely nothing to do with secularism, nothing to do with what we call French laïcité. It has to do with an ideology, and it has not to do with faith. If you imagine that it has something to do with faith, it means that you have engraved the discourse of the integrist. It means that the Islamists have convicted you that it is a question of faith and a question of laicity, but it's not. And why? We can prove it, because all those underage children that we have to protect and that wear burkini, what is their face? I mean, I'm a little girl, I'm 8-year-old, I want to wear a burkini, it's my faith and my choice. No, it's not their face, nor their choice.
Let me bring in Reem Sarah Alouane. Your thoughts on this?
First of all, my critics would go both for countries who impose women to dress a certain way and for countries, like for me, imposing a woman to wear a veil and imposing a woman to remove it is the same logic. It's controlling women's body for a political agenda, right? And we are in a democracy, in a liberal democracy. No matter what you think about the burkini, as long as the person wishes to wear it, she should be able to do so. And B, regarding the burkini itself, do you know that it was created in Australia by an Australian Muslim entrepreneur to be, able to practice, because it was her choice, her faith while enjoying very Western activities. And actually, I would add, it's not just Muslims who wear it. You have plenty of different religious, women with different faith or no faith who want to wear it because it's a wetsuit. I read an interview where a woman who used to have a skin cancer actually ordered a burkini because it allowed her to, to be able to enjoy activities. So my point is, it's a matter of choice. Leave women choosing. Of course, women who are forced to do it should be, of course, helped. But what about women who decide it? And I know plenty of them.
All right, Florence, there's an important point here. I just want to spell it out again for our viewers. And that is there's a difference between countries like Germany and the UK, where they have so-called multiculturalism, and here in France, where we have a policy of assimilation, where everyone should be the same.
That's right. There is that policy of assimilation, and a lot of it has to do with French identity, which I think is really in a crisis right now, and that's been very clear in the wake of the terrorist attacks. France is having a really hard time coming to terms with the fact that it is a multicultural, it is a multi-ethnic society, and we currently have a dominant population, which is white, traditionally Catholic, and many of these people feel very upset by the fact that French identity has changed over the last 50 years, say, over the last century, in fact. And we have a large Muslim population. It's estimated between 5 million and 6 million. That's about 10% of the population. We have a very multi-ethnic population. And I think that that's why this Burkini debate, which only concerns not very many women actually wear...
Very small minority.
A small minority of women actually wear the bikini. Why has it become such a huge scandal? It's because of this deep identity crisis. But there was an interesting point that was raised about the origin of the burkini, which is very recent. It's about 13 years old, created in Australia, indeed. And people say it's archaic, but other people argue that it's actually a very modern thing because it allows a whole population of women who never went to the beach before or who did go to the beach but never went into the water. It allows them to go swimming, to go surfing. It opens up the beach to a whole group of women who otherwise would never go.
And let me comment, just a small comment on that. It's not accepted by the extremists. So it's not an extremist suit. It's not accepted by the extremists because, it shows the body shape. Yeah, the body shape.
It's not accepted by the pure white Salafists because it's too...
by Islamists, even by integrists.
Yes, of course they do because...
On the hashtag F24 debate, lots of reactions. This one on Facebook from Martin. I'm against burkinis, but also I'm against a ban because it doesn't solve the central problem. I'm for supporting a secular Islam by training imams at local universities and deporting radical foreign imams. Do you agree, Isabelle, that this whole burkini ban debate is a distraction?
Not exactly. I think really it's a symptom of strange triangulation and confusion, political confusion, ideological confusion. Why? Because it is viewed as a religious sign, so the responses are about laicity, but it's not. It has nothing to do with religion. It has something to do with the body of the women.
Rim Salah, do you agree this has nothing to do with religion?
Let's face it, it's just, the burkini is just another, just another event regarding the constant target against Muslims in France. Let's face it has been going on since the 90s. This institutionalization of anti-Muslim sentiment is in the open now, and elections are coming. So clearly, it's obvious. It's going after Muslims and trying to make them disappear from the public space.
All right, we're going to pick up on those points. When we come back, we're going to take a very quick break. You're watching the France 24 debate.